now, so you should go ahead and be able to catch that. Certainly, if you're listening to this live, and you prefer to go ahead and have the video format as well as the audio format, by all means, head on over to Google Plus and look for me there. Just do a search for John Kramer, and you should be able to find that out and join the Hangout. If not, hey, no problem. I realize that the bulk of our listeners go ahead and listen to the show and watch the show after the fact. Not everybody is available on Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Understand that completely. And you'll catch the audio portion of this podcast either from iTunes. Just do a search for At The Eyepiece. Or, of course, you're live on the air on the Blog Talk Radio site. One thing I just realized, too, on the Blog Talk Radio site, and I told you I was going to be a little rusty for this episode, is the fact that I did not start my chat window. So let me go ahead and get my chat window launched up here, just in case there's anybody that is live and is going to send me a hello or a chat from that perspective. So I just go ahead and crank that up now too. One more thing too that you might notice here from the Google Plus Hangout perspective, hopefully my audio is coming through good. Won't really know that until after the fact. I didn't do a pre-test, that was my bad. But hopefully you'll also be able to hear the audio coming from the Blog Talk Radio feed. Most of the time that's at the beginning of the show and at the end of the show. I realize that here on the Google Hangout and also probably going to be on the YouTube channel, the show's kind of getting a jump in after the initial technical delays, so I apologize for that. But let's get on to the show already. Enough of me talking about technical delays and things along those lines. Now, as I elaborated on, since we have a lot of bad weather here recently here in Middle Tennessee, been spending a lot of time messing around with some certain software, prepping up a Windows computer, testing out some software. So look forward here until some upcoming episodes for some software-specific introductions, initial impressions. One of those is going to be SkyTools 3. Now, I'm a big advocate of trying to keep track of your observing, whether that is in, for instance, a notebook, or whether or not you do it electronically. Now, I myself have really liked Astro Planner, but one of the weaknesses that I found with Astro Planner is that its real-time star chart doesn't seem to be very realistic. And in particular, when I'm observing double stars, sometimes I really want a visual reference to give me an idea of how and what position, angle, etc., or even if I'm lost in my field of view and I just want to confirm what I'm hunting down, I really wanted an application that gave me the capability to render what I should be seeing in my eyepiece very, very accurately. And one of the strengths that I knew from doing my searches online, etc., don't want to spend too much time on this, but one of the strengths that I knew from doing online searches and frequently looking on to cloudy nights was the fact that SkyTools 3 has a pretty good capability and is used very, it's very popular with double stars observers for that very point. So anyway, if I ever get some clear skies enough to get out and actually use this piece of software in conjunction with the scope and then try to hunt down some doubles, I'll give you some feedback. And of course, we'll give you generalized feedback on SkyTools 3. Also, give you a little bit of tease here from future episodes. I found a fantastic software called Dave's Solar Recorder. And I will go ahead and do a lot with this in particular. I really enjoy it. In a nutshell, when you're imaging hydrogen alpha, a lot of times you're either going to get surface detail or prominence detail. You don't really get both at the same time, at least not with a monochrome camera, generally speaking. But this nifty piece of software permits you to go ahead and get both of those feeds, if you will, from the same camera. Really, really cool. So you can have different exposure settings even from the same camera. I was blown away by the capabilities of it. In addition, it will render your image colorized as well. So I'm very excited about that for solar outreach, really mostly for specific events where I have the capability to go ahead and bring a monitor or do a real presentation like that. And I'm also, of course, very interested in doing that for live broadcasting. So again, weather, give me a break and give me some clear skies so that I can go ahead and share that with everyone. All right, so let's get on to some vendor news here. We're going to go ahead and click a few things. One of the newest releases of astronomical equipment has been brought to us by Ioptron. Ioptron, I think I covered in the last episode, Ioptron released actually their IEQ 45, which is their very, very good German equatorial, traditional German equatorial mount, but in the capability to go ahead and be switched. Now I'll click that for those of you that are going to be following along here. Quick, the IEQ 45 Azimuth, which is their IEQ 45 traditional German equatorial telescope that has the capability to switch into alt azimuth. This has been kind of a big deal. You know, Meade released their LX80s, and there's been a few companies looking at how well that has been really received by the amateur astronomy community. And of course, Orion released their mount, which is basically an atlas that can be switched. And now you have the IEQ Azimuth from Ioptron. Well, one of the most innovative designs that I've seen is their release of a new equatorial mount, but it's not a German equatorial mount. In fact, I've seen it referenced from amateurs as more of a Chinese equatorial mount. And I'm referring to the Ioptron ZEQ 25. Now, this mount is priced very aggressively at $799. For an additional about $50, you get the polar alignment scope installed, calibrated, and aligned at the field. Now, this scope has a different balancing point than your traditional German equatorial scope. And I really encourage everyone, even if you're listening to the show here, head on over to Ioptron. Helps you to really visualize what I'm referring to. And of course, those that are able to see this hangout, well, they're able to go ahead and catch it right off the bat. But really, really neat design where the fulcrum is positioned more over the center of gravity of the tripod there, and the way it is designed, your optical tube sits back further. This is where, by the way, they get the Z, because the way the mount is built, it does resemble a Z form factor, and it's really quite neat. I've seen a number of posts online for it. The mount has not been officially released. Here online it says it's back ordered, won't ship out to the end of March here in the US and Canada, available worldwide April 2013. No doubt they're doing a big deal on this mount during the NEAF. So that was the Ioptron ZEQ 25. I encourage you to head on over to there and check that out. Now, speaking of mounts, you remember I did a real quick notice regarding the Celestron Advanced Series VX mount. Not to scare anyone, but there has been a number of posts out there regarding the VX mount, and a lot of them reflect bad hand controllers. So right on cloudynights.com, I would say there's been quite a few bad hand controller, shaking and noise issues, slewing problems. So it's getting in the hands of amateur astronomers, and a few issues are popping up. I've seen probably 4 of the hand controller issues. That seems to be the main issue. A couple of the other ones here that I've highlighted, I think those have been due to some obvious quality control issues, but some user error too, I think, on those parts. But overall, I think it's still a good mount. I think overall it's still getting favorable reviews, but there are some issues cropping up. So just keep that in mind. And speaking of equatorial mounts, keeping things in mind, the OPT telescopes, this is Oceanside Photo and Telescopes here, based out of California, is doing a really big sale on the LX80s. Remember, they were originally released at $799. Well, guess what? They've released them at a price increase not too far after that, and they went up to $999. That probably didn't factor in too well for sales for Meade, but OPT, if you go to optcorp.com, that is Oceanside Photo and Telescope is doing a blowout sale on the Meade multi-mount at $799. I've gotten more and more looks at the LX80 online, and I will tell you that I think for the most part, these things are starting to get very favorable. Alt azimuth has always been pretty decent on these mounts as far as the reviews. The weakest point has been thoughts on the equatorial or the polar mode. I think for the most part, however, Meade is fixing these issues, or a few people are getting these mounts and reporting no problems at all. So keep that in mind. Now, if you want a more traditional German equatorial mount, you can't beat the deal going on again at Oceanside Photo Telescope. There's also another vendor out there called High Point Scientific, the Celestron CG5s. These are older mounts, but they are certainly have been a workhorse for Celestron and amateur astronomers for quite some time. This is the CG5. I actually own one of these myself. Right now, blowout price of $499 while supplies last. No doubt they are clearing out inventory for the AVX mount. So head on over to those if you're looking for some astronomical equipment. No, I don't have any affiliation with OPT. I'm just highlighting some deals for my fellow backyard stargazers. So that's certainly a very good one. Speaking of deals, what's coming up here in April is the Northeast Astronomical Forum in Suffern, New York, and that is April 20th and 21st, the 22nd year of this expo. And of course, that's brought to you by the Rockland, or at the Rockland Community College there in Suffern, New York. Yours truly probably will not again be able to make it there for this year. I wish I wish I was able to, but there's some other family things going on with some surgery about that time, and I want to be available for that. And I certainly hope to be scouring the internet and YouTube for any videos posted, however, on this wonderful event. If you're going up to NEAF this year and you want to kind of be our remote correspondent, give me a shout. Send me an email at theeyepiece@gmail.com, and I would love to go ahead and get some of the feedback from you, maybe even do a couple of live shows, whatever we could work out, or at least check out some of your videos. If you get good videos or good information from NEAF, go ahead and share it with me. I'll share it with our fellow backyard stargazers. So that is NEAF 2013, April 20th and 21st. Now, on to our main topic, Global Astronomy Month. Global Astronomy Month. What exactly is Global Astronomy Month, and who kind of coordinates Global Astronomy Month? Well, Global Astronomy Month is an initiative by Astronomers Without Borders. Now, Astronomers Without Borders, I'll share some story here with them. This Astronomers Without Borders is an organization that was started back in 2009 by Mike Simons. Mike Simons is an amateur astronomer, has been for 40 years, and is quite involved with doing outreach. Well, Mike's outreach efforts broadened in 1999 when he traveled to Iran for a total solar eclipse. He found Iranians amateur astronomers very enthusiastic about astronomy, but lacking a lot of the resources that he enjoys and we enjoy, of course, here in the West. He's thus traveled back and forth to Iran a number of times. He's even gone into Kurdistan region of northern Iraq with those isolated Kurdish counterparts and assisted some outreach efforts there. Well, that moved him so much to create and found this Astronomers Without Borders. And their main mission objective is to foster an understanding and goodwill across nations and cultural boundaries by creating relationships through the universal appeal of astronomy. Astronomers Without Borders projects promote sharing resources, sharing knowledge, sharing inspiration, all through a common interest in something basic and universal, sharing the sky. So how can you not really dig that type of initiative? And really coming from the International Year of Astronomer and Mike being involved, I believe, in the 100 Hours of Astronomy, well, every year, that's right, April every year is Global Astronomy Month. And they have a number of events that they encourage people to participate in throughout the month of April. And I'll go ahead and I'll share a few of the more exciting ones here. Now, we come down to one of the first events in the Global Astronomy Night, and that is International Dark Sky Week. That goes from the 5th to the 11th, and its main purpose basically, it was created in 2003, believe it or not, by a high school student, Bravo. Her name was Jennifer Barlow, and it's basically promoting an awareness of light pollution. So we encourage you through your own events, for your local club events, to try to go ahead and get out and really initiate some dialogue with your community and make aware the International Dark Sky Association and why light pollution and battling light pollution is so very important, not only for amateur stargazers, but really and truly for everyone. Well, you also have the Messier Marathon, which is an online observing event that actually occurs tomorrow night. That's right, the Virtual Telescope is doing a Messier Marathon. Almost 100 of the night skies objects in one night. That is an online program that they also encourage throughout April. And I will tell you that the gentleman behind the Virtual Telescope, an Italian fellow, I cannot recall his name. In fact, good thing, probably I would mangle his pronunciation anyway. But I have actually attended a number of the online events before, and it's really fun. He's very knowledgeable about astronomy, but he seems very approachable too. So that's really, really cool. He's a professional observer, astronomer, and I would really, really go ahead and encourage you to head on over to virtualtelescope.eu/web TV for more information on those events. And that's coming up right tomorrow. Now, April 6th, one event that I hope to go ahead and be participating in with doing some local outreach is Jupiter Watch. Of course, this event is simply to encourage everyone to look up and share the views of Jupiter with your, well, with everyone, as much as you can go ahead and involve your local community, etc. And one of the things here, too, that I really thought very, very cool, if you are a person very interested in outreach, as I am, one of the things that Astronomers Without Borders does is, if you are on the page right now, and once you do head there, if you're listening to this podcast later on, once you head there, I encourage you to go ahead and download the graphics. They provide you with these graphics for you to go ahead and put on your website or have them available, etc., uh, for basically sharing on documentation. And what I found is that kids in particular like to receive stuff. And I print out basically a certificate of appreciation based upon the particular event that they go ahead and participate in. So for instance, I'll make up a certificate of appreciation where the parents can fill out the child's name, and we'll put the little colored logo there for the Jupiter watch. Or if we're doing the moon watch, we'll do it with the moon watch. If we're doing Sunday, which is focused on observing the sun, you get the idea. We'll put that logo on there and go ahead and participate with that. So I think that's really nice of them to do that, and a lot of fun to do. So April 6th is Jupiter watch. April 7th is Sunday, well, even more so because it is Sun Day with Global Astronomy Month. You guessed it, that's when you go ahead and you share the views and information with your fellow neighbors, etc., either online or locally regarding the sun. I'm really looking forward to this particular day. I hope to be set up with a white light and hydrogen alpha scope somewhere here in the Middle Tennessee area, Murfreesboro, and sharing the views of the sun with that day in particular. And of course, going ahead and talking more and more about the organization that is a year-round advocate for solar observing, which is the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project. So that is April 7th there with Global Astronomy Night. Now, Walking the Moon is an online observing event, so you have two here. April 18th, online observing a month, or online observing event, again with the virtual telescope. So mark your calendars for April 18th for this event, Walking the Moon. No doubt you're going to be getting wonderfully up close views of our closest celestial body, and a wealth of information, I'm certainly sure, there. Well, we're not done. We still got plenty of days here left in April, and Astronomers Without Borders realizes that, and we continue with the Global Astronomy Month events. April 20th is the Global Star Party. This is basically, imagine the feeling of unity that you would get knowing that on April 20th, you are participating in seeing the night sky with a worldwide endeavor to do exactly the same thing. That's pretty cool. And the Global Star Party here is basically encouraged to just do exactly that. More of a traditional at-night star party. Take it out, show people stars, the planets, whatever's up there, deep sky objects, etc. Looking very much forward to that as well. And next up, you have the Lyrid meter. Well, you have Stars for All, April 20th. I believe this is one of the last online observing programs offered by the virtual telescope. And you get the Lyrid Meteor Watch. This is the 20th through the 22nd. This is basically encouraging you to get out and check out one of the lesser known meteor showers out there, but still certainly endeavoring to cover a lot of different things is Global Astronomy Month. 90 seconds. Now, one of my favorite ones here is coming up in April, at the end of April, Saturn Watch. That one's going to be really exciting. Everybody's completely blown away usually by the view of Saturn through the eyepiece. So April 27th, I encourage you to go ahead, and even if it's just bringing your telescope out on your sidewalk there or on your driveway. If you are like me, I've got plenty of people, as the weather's getting warmer, they like to walk around the neighborhood. Seconds. What a great way to share the night sky with your neighbors and meet them and talk more about astronomy in general. And April 28th, they got a cosmic concert. That's going to be online live event. Not too sure what that is, but if you go to the astronomerswithoutborders.org information, it's going to be a musical journey through space and the stars. So that's a pretty interesting event, and I'm kind of curious now and peaked on that. So Astronomers Without Borders, a fantastic organization, really reaching out to a worldwide audience to encourage astronomy and astronomical observing, etc. And I really want to encourage you to, you don't even have to be part of an astronomy club. If you're just somebody that likes to observe and you want to share that view, you can even go out with a pair of binoculars and share that view. It's just really, really great. And if you take the time, one of the coolest things I think that you can do, and last but not least, the moon. Moon Watch basically goes on all month. So whatever opportunity that you get to observe the moon, by all means, please share that too. That goes on from the 3rd to the 29th. Couldn't forget that one, because the general public really, really goes ahead and enjoys seeing the moon too. But think about going ahead and printing up those certificate of appreciation, especially for the younger observers. They really get a kick out of receiving that, and they get a little sense of accomplishment by taking that out. One of the things too, that for Global Star Party event, we will go ahead and print almost a checkable list of objects. You know, an open cluster, a Jupiter, Saturn, the moon, a planetary nebula, globular cluster, you know, different objects there. And we will go ahead and create a checkoff list and encourage the kids to go to different telescopes or to stay and get checked off for additional items on their list. And again, give them that certificate of appreciation. They really do get a kickoff from that indeed. One thing we didn't do, that'll wrap up for At the Eyepiece, but one more thing that we haven't done for a while, and I certainly want to get to doing this, is our constellation of the month. Our constellation of the month coming in here for April is going to be Ursa Major. Now, there's a number of different deep sky objects in Ursa Major that are worthwhile to go ahead and catch telescopically, as well as, of course, the whole constellation Ursa Major I'm referring to is the Big Dipper. Big Dipper is one of the most recognizable constellations in our night sky, and it rides almost upside down this time of year if you look towards the north. Now, our folks that are in the Google Plus Hangout or catching this live video here, you'll be able to see my Stellarium screen to get a good representation of just where that is. But I think the Big Dipper is one of the most recognizable constellations in the night sky, and you shouldn't have much problem going ahead and looking north at about 9 o'clock, I would say, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and you should be able to see the Dipper riding high there. And it's basically upside down. Looks like it would be pouring out from our particular orientation right now. But some deep sky objects within that constellation is going to be M97. Now, this one is a bit of a challenge. M97 is, of course, the Owl cluster. It's a planetary nebula, and it is a little bit difficult to see from suburban skies. I'm trying to actually find it here when I haven't used Stellarium for a bit. I got to go ahead and do my quick search. There we go. I knew it was near one of these stars here. It's right near the star Merrick. And M97 visually for me with even 8-inch aperture is pretty difficult to nail down. Photographically, it's not too bad either. It certainly has these two lobes that you should be able to make out, especially from a dark sky. Planetary nebula too, observing with a filter such as an oxygen 3 or ultra high contrast filter should also help. M97 there. Two of my favorite galaxies are also in Ursa Major, M81 and M82. One of the most memorable views of M81, and you can see here from our stellarium, they're pretty close to one another, and I have actually been able to see both of them in the same field of view with a 24 millimeter ultra wide angle eyepiece, and that was really, really breathtaking to see that. So fortunately, if you have a low power, wide field of view eyepiece, you should be able to see both of these galaxies. One's called the Cigar Galaxy, the other one is called Bode's Nebula, or that one is actually the M81. So certainly worth tracking down. Now there's a number of other objects in Ursa Major that I will go ahead and cover here as well. And I'm getting this information from the wonderful book, Objects in the Heavens, by Peter Byron. And on page 116 is where we go ahead and we start talking about Ursa Major and the interesting objects that exist in Ursa Major. Now, one thing here interesting in the, speaking of Messier marathon here, is M40. M40, not going to be brought up here in Stellarium, but this is obviously a Messier object, and folks always go ahead and talk about how it really should be on the list because it's basically just a double star on there, so just keep that in mind. But we certainly have M81, M82, M97, the Owl Nebula, which is magnitude 9.8, which is pretty dim, and of course M101, the Pinwheel Galaxy at magnitude 8. We have a challenging object, M108 at magnitude 10, and it's pretty close to M97. So let's call up that one just so that we can go ahead and highlight the area of that. Let me go back for M101. That's basically near the handle of the Big Dipper. Move on to M108, and as you can see here, it is very close, just about a degree from the Owl Nebula there, near the bright star in the bucket of the Big Dipper, Merak. And one of the last Messier objects here in the constellation Ursa Major is M109, which is actually very close to the bright star, the other side of Merak, called Fad. And that should cover our stars here for Ursa Major, and that should go ahead and wrap up this episode of At the Eyepiece. So I certainly hope that I'd love to hear information from you out there regarding what events you've done for Global Astronomy Month. And don't forget, one of the more prominent locations to go ahead and check out online events all and every single Sunday is right here on Google+, and that's the Virtual Star Party that comes up a few hours from now right here on Google+ Hangouts. The Virtual Star Party is hosted by Fraser Cain and a number of backyard stargazers. Even yours truly sometimes has the ability to go ahead and participate, but that, of course, is weather permitting. Tonight, not going to be the case, so kind of a bummer there, but you will get plenty of fantastic information shared online with the Virtual Star Party. So I really, really encourage you to head on over to Google+ and look for Fraser Cain and just add Fraser Cain to your circles, and you will go ahead and be all up to date on the latest offerings with Virtual Star Party. And of course, Fraser Cain is the other half to the Astronomy Cast with Dr. Pamela Gay, as well as the publisher of Universe Today. So that'll be a show here for this week. I want to thank everybody for listening, and I sure wish you plenty of clear skies so that we can all talk about it next time at The Eyepiece. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of At The Eyepiece. If you would like to participate in a future show as a featured guest, or perhaps you have suggestions for future show topics, send me an email at theeyepiece@gmail.com. Check out our blog
attheeyepiece.blogspot.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. Just put in a search for At The Eyepiece. I'd like to thank George Wood for his bumper and exit music. This is 8-Bit Junkie, and we obtained that from podsafeaudio.com. So here's wishing all of you plenty of clear skies so that we can all talk about it next time at The Eyepiece.